Hey, I'm Marina.
And I'm Emily.
And I've seen everything in the Sex and the City empire 10,000 times.
And I'm starting fresh.
So I'll be woman-splaining the show.
And I'm along for the ride.
But there's a twist. We are starting with And Just Like That and working our way back to the beginning.
So in other words, we're watching it backwards and in high heels.
This is City and the Sex. Well, welcome back to City and the Sex. We are on And Just Like That, Season 2, Episode 8. All right, I'm going to take the pressure off of you this time. Okay, and I'll start with my one word.
Thank you.
My one word, I think, is setup, which is like kind of weird because I feel like Episode 7 really sets up this second plot. So it's kind of the continuation of putting everybody in the place they should have been in.
Okay.
In my humble opinion.
All right.
What's your one word?
Mine is once again a compliment that is going to sound very insulting. So maybe it's a backhanded compliment. But my word for this is human. Because everyone acted like a human.
Okay.
There are a few scenes in this scene where people behave not necessarily better or worse, or, you know, behave poorly, behave kindly, whatever. They behave like a person in a way that I have not seen in this show.
I'm going to go on a limb and say I don't think anything upsetting happens in this episode.
Yeah,
I don't think. I mean, maybe when we go through it, I'll feel differently, but I don't think there was much for me to nitpick on. Like, I rewatched this episode and I was like, wow, I actually enjoyed this one. And not in a vindictive, like ha 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 ha, they can't do their job. Like, this was one where I was like, who wrote this? Because I was like, this one was really solid.
Who did write this one? Do you remember?
It had Michael Patrick King and then two women who are EPs of the show and like are original writers from the original show. Okay,
interesting. Yeah, I'm going to look at the end of the season and start comparing notes. I'll say there's one scene that we'll get to that I did guffaw that I don't think I was supposed to. So that it wasn't offensive. Okay. It wasn't offensive or anything, but it was funny. It was unintentionally funny. So there's at least that.
So with that, let's start with Charlotte, because I feel like she has a pretty straightforward plot here. So Charlotte calls a family meeting to tell her kids that she's going back to work and that she won't be able to be, bitch servant mom anymore. You hear that, Lily?
I'm free. Breaker of chains, Charlotte.
Finally, the pop brownie did it.
I do like her calling a family meeting to announce this. It's also in itself funny.
I do love that. But I also do love that Lily and Rock are like, shut the fuck up. We don't care that you're going back to work. No one cared about you to begin with. I want to go do my homework.
Yeah, literally. It's nothing but L's for Charlotte in her own household.
Yes, I agree. So then Charlotte and LTW go to a clothing store to shop for her first day of work outfit.
I think it's cute.
And very cute. And I think the dress is ugly.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Which is weird because she walks into the store with an outfit that looks much better.
Yeah.
It's like that
I agree.
Could be a great first day of work outfit, actually, which you're wearing currently.
Well, she makes this whole point about like looking like a sophisticated ballerina, and the implication is kind of like a New York little black dress, I guess. That's what we're supposed to understand. Okay. But I don't like this one that she picks. It's like a short sleeve, but like slightly puffy sleeve, and then it's got like a pink satin Peter Pan collar.
Yeah.
And then it's got a little bib of lace, and then it's got a pink belt.
It just feels like two styles clashing a little bit. It's a weird dress. It's a little weird, but that's all right.
It's a weird dress, but right. You know what? Whatever. She feels
fixates on it. Yeah.
She fixates on it. So she picks this dress, and she's like, it's perfect. But as I mentioned, it has this little pink belt, and she feels that it doesn't like quite sit right on her waistline. And the shop back to our running tally of bitchy, service people.
Yeah.
The shop attendant overhears Charlotte being like, I love this dress, but the belt doesn't quite sit right over, kind of like my waist area. And so the shop attendant goes and comes back with like 2 Victorian muumuus for her to wear.
Yeah. Miserable.
And
I want to say on the bitchy service person, before Charlotte even says what's wrong with her, like what she doesn't like about it, there is a shot on her, on the service person, like looking Charlotte up and down when she first gets into the store that LTW like clocks. And the service person immediately gives Charlotte the stink eye, just like hates her. She just gives her such a dirty look, disgust for no reason. And I didn't understand, okay, why does the service person have immediate hatred for this guest that has walked in, this customer? I'm like, why does the service person already hate Charlotte from the get-go? Was this something that was written in the script, or was this just like the director gave her one note and it was, you hate this person, and the actor didn't realize that, like, thought, oh, okay, I hate this person from beginning, middle, and end of the scene, so I'm just going to start with this face.
It's so weird because when Charlotte freaks out on her and is like, I don't want the muumuus, put them away, I'm getting the dress. She kind of like turns to LTW and like genuinely is like, what did I do? Which then also deviates from like, okay, is she just a bitchy like service girl? And then LTW is like, well, what you did is that you're 25, so you can't fix that. And that's funny. But then she gives LTW a stank face. And I just feel like,
who's mad at who right now and why?
Who's mad at who? Are you mad at this customer? Were you genuinely trying to help? I can't tell. I think it's just my reigning theory of Michael Patrick King being like, what does this scene need? A bitchy service worker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then Charlotte goes home and she's looking through old pictures and she finds one of her kind of in a little black dress and she safety pins it to the coat hanger as if kind of to imply like, I'm trying to get back to this person that I used to be. It is really funny. The pictures are very much production stills.
Yeah. Which is cute.
Which is cute. But then she really fixating on the dress. She tries it on and she just feels like she's kind of not slim enough to wear the dress. Harry compliments her. He's like, you look great. And she's just really struggling with the belt. Then we have this weird interaction between the two of them.
He says something like, oh no, it looks fine, or something along those lines. And she's like, I'm almost there. I just need to keep going, or something like that. And that's what makes him ask, what do you mean almost there? And then she's like, I've been eating bone broth for a week. Haven't you noticed? Kind of less as in, have you noticed my bone broth? And more, haven't you noticed that I've slimmed down? And that's when he's like, you look great, or like tries to save it. And then she kind of just sort of sends him away and is like, don't say anything to me, or something like that. She kind of shoos him away.
Oh,
so that was what that was about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. In my first interpretation, I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to understand about bone broth here.
It's a completely normal reaction to have to any given scene that's happening in these episodes. So
yeah, I'm like, I'm so used to them shanking me out of the corner with some weird joke that makes no sense, that when the joke is actually like thoughtful like this, I'm like, oh, where's the shank?
Yeah.
When's it gonna come
Fight
out?
or flight is activated.
Yeah, I'm like, when is he gonna, like, I don't know, trip on the scale and break his dick in half? You know what I mean? Like, and then that's the plot of the episode. Like, that's what I'm ready for.
Right.
It's like, oh no, a genuine moment about like an actual joke. I'm like, where? Who?
And so the stray dog runs by, right?
And then the stray dog cuts the scene. Yeah. And its dick breaks in half. Yeah. But one thing I do want to note is that both LTW and Harry are like, if the belt's not working, just don't wear the belt. And she's like, well, then the whole outfit doesn't work. And I'm here to say the outfit looks better without the belt.
You're going on the record.
I'm going on the record as saying the outfit looks better without the belt.
Yeah, honestly, now that
the belt is dumb.
Yeah. Now that you have explained this to me and laid it out, I'm thinking about the outfit again. And you know what? You're right. You're absolutely correct. You fixed it. You've script doctored. You've costume doctored. You're on a roll.
I am taking this show by storm. I am hireable. I do not have management. Therefore, I cannot strike if there's another writers guild. No, I'm just kidding. I am a scab. No, I'm just kidding.
The big twist of this podcast is that you end up being a scab, but also like you can't stop talking about it. So like without being forced, you're randomly like, do you guys want to go across a picket line? I mean, I'm just kidding. I mean, what? No, you just want to go get dinner? I mean, that's cool too. I mean, that's fine.
I mean, that's cool too. Yeah. No. Sure. So I do love that we'll get into Anthony's plot later, but Charlotte and Anthony have this phone call that I actually think is another great, like, classic moment that happens in life, which is just like they're having two separate conversations, but they're just on the phone together.
Right. Yeah. Real.
She's talking about her weight, then he talks about his bread drama, and then like she goes back to her weight, and then I think they end the call and she's like, this was a good talk, like, thanks Anthony for listening, like something like that. I was like, that's actually hilarious.
Yep.
And then we cut to what is clearly the first day of school, and she is putting on her 8 layers of spandex, which is kind of comical because, as we all know, spandex is like kind of thick. So if you put on like 8 of those, it's like the dress is definitely not fitting anymore.
Right, exactly. Like you have now added dimension.
Yeah. But we get it.
Right, sure. The point was made,
like,
whatever.
She goes downstairs and she's like, girls, have a good like day at school. And they're like, why are you being so fucking weird? And she's like, get off my back.
They throw things at her.
They throw tomatoes, they throw rotten lettuce, they boo.
They just boo her. Bye, Greg. You know, kids, have a great day at school. I'm going to work. Boo. Boo. Boo, Mom, boo.
I don't know why it makes me laugh, but it's just because it's like in every scene, it's like the same.
Exactly.
Violence.
It doesn't change. It's only funny because it doesn't change. They're always hostile.
It's so violent.
So, you know what? I don't think there are a few things funnier than like misplaced anger or like anger out of nowhere with no warning. Do you know what I mean? Just absolute furiousness at nothing is so funny to me. Here's
so
your cake.
good.
What is wrong with you, you idiot?
Have a nice day at school. Why can't you breathe? Get your lungs together.
Yeah, exactly. She's like trying to breathe through the Spanx, and they're like, what's wrong with your voice? You sound dumb. It's like, just let her live. Jesus Christ. I'm calling Child Protection Services so we can be protected from the child.
Yeah, I'm so scared. I'm just like, I feel like this show is gonna be, by watching this show, I am therefore cursed with having children like this, because it's like I've never seen kids be this hostile, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And if kids are this hostile, it is the best birth control ad I've ever seen.
That's so true. If this is what it is, then you know what? I'm good. You've done it.
I'm good. It is the best anti-child ad I've ever seen. It's just like, are you insecure about your body after going, back to the workforce after like, nearly 2 decades?
You know what'll make it worse? Have some kids.
Have these horrific kids who just boo. God, it's so good. It's so good. I'm honestly like, I wish the writers had been in on how mean-spirited they made these kids, because then they just should have leaned into it. They should have made him just fucking nasty.
Yeah, just escalate it every time. Yeah.
Ruthless. That would be funny. That's why we are laughing, because we have like dissected out the funny.
Yeah, we have found the funny.
They don't know. They're just like, teens are mean, and you're like, what children did you raise?
What children did you raise? What children have you ever interacted with? And I'm like, sorry. I'm sorry that you had to interact with a child that did this to you.
Like, who hurt you? Like, who hurt you? I'm so sorry. And if your kids are this nasty, like, I don't know. I pray for you.
I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, and I hope you're healing.
And I am crying right now. Like, literally tears are like coming out, because it's just so
my eyes are
fucking
watering.
mean. It's like, it's gonna be so funny when we go back to the original show and see Charlotte just like being a human being, and it's just gonna be like, wow, she sold this to have these nasty ass, gut ass fucking kids.
Oh my God. Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to try and watch that and be like, how, like, she got to live a life without constant criticism and attack. You know what I mean? That's so sad
God.
for her.
The horror.
The horror.
Well.
So she heads out to work.
So she heads out to work. She has what I find is a really relatable moment, which is like just as she's about to get to the gallery, she looks at herself in the window, like a storefront window, and she like overthinks the belt, takes the belt off, puts it in her pocket. As she walks into the gallery, she kind of like closes her jacket, you know, to kind of make her kind of like hide her, you know, in a way. Like I've been there with outfits that I feel like insecure about.
Yeah, 100%.
I definitely related to that. And then she sees like these two like gallerinas who are very clearly like the stereotype. They're wearing like dead pigeons on their head and like avant-garde clothes that make no sense.
Yeah. I mean, sure.
And so she's kind of like, you know, her suspicions are confirmed. And then Tony Award winner Bonnie Milligan comes down the stairs.
Good eye. Dang.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, that makes everything okay. And she throws the Spanx in the trash. Although she has this one little cute moment where she like gets one Spanx back out of the trash. Because obviously, you know.
Those are expensive.
They're expensive.
And you want to have one just in case. For our list of like moments we've seen in the show where we're like women, you know what I mean? Like in the last episode, it was the pillow thing. In this episode, I feel like it's this sequence of walking in front of the window and adjusting the belt. Like that to me was a very relatable first day of school, first day of work thing. You know what I mean? Of like you have the outfit in your head, and for some reason, it is really important that you get the outfit right.
Yeah,
it is so important. It will make or break your day.
Yeah. And when she's like gains her confidence, she puts the belt back on, I should say. But I have experienced that last minute sweat where you're like, actually, I look dumb.
I made a mistake.
She sees Bonnie Milligan. She's like, okay, I guess galleries are, you know, more accepting of all different kinds of, you know, body sizes as opposed to, I can imagine in 90s New York, like if you walked in a gallery, it would be very much the stereotypical of like a waify woman. And so it's very clear that like, okay, like this gallery, first of all, this gallery is run by Victor Garber. So we know it's going to be a good place.
Yeah, we know it's a good environment. We know these are allies. This is a safe space.
This is a safe space. And that's it. And they seem happy to have her there. And that's her plot. And God, is it just, I fully came.
Yeah, I was literally going to ask you, but in a much more like toned down way. I was going to be like, did this just make your heart sing or something? Like, I was going to say it like Marina, I know you've been waiting for this for a long time. And I love that you just came out and you're like, I came. I came.
I'm just like, whatever. She's happy. She's thriving. She's moisturized. She's blessed.
She's moisturized.
Whatever that
She's
quote
unbothered.
is.
She's staying in her lane.
Unbothered. Exactly. And I'm like, thank God. Because, you know, she's got fucking terrible kids, friends who don't listen to her.
Things are not going well. Nobody recognizes the Americans.
Nobody recognizes the Americans. So
it's tough for her. So we're happy for her. I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Church is over. Okay. So
Church is over.
Church is over. Before we get into the big plots, I want to go through Anthony's plot. So he's at Hot Fellas again. Somehow his business is surviving on one delivery guy. Despite the fact that he's going viral. So that would literally be impossible for one delivery guy to make like a viral levels of deliveries, but it's fine.
It's okay. No one on the show knows how business works.
Nobody knows.
It's been a while. It's been a while since they've had to work it. Yeah, that just. Oh, you know what? Touche. That's fair.
Touche. Then Giuseppe comes in. They very clearly reenact the famous ghost scene starring Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze, where Giuseppe's like, "You're punching the bread too hard," and he's like, "Am I?" And then Giuseppe stands behind him, and then they knead the bread together in a very sexual, perverted way. No, I'm just kidding. A very sexual way. To be clear, that's a joke. But
We're going back to church.
We're going back to church. This episode is about me putting my Christian agenda. Wouldn't that be so funny if 8 episodes into this podcast we just took a hard
turn and
Megyn Kelly turn
and like fundamental Christian, like hardcore agenda pushing too, like evangelists. Like we're just
okay, but sorry. Now I'm pitching another podcast, which is us playing Christian fundamentalists reviewing this show.
That's oh my God, that is so funny. Right,
that's what we should. We should have pulled a Colbert and like played characters and done that.
And that's a segment is like we're going to hear from our crazy Christian friend, and then it's like us, and it's
us being like
this episode was a sin.
Yeah. So anyway, they have their very romantic ghost reenactment of kneading the bread. And then Giuseppe drops the truth bomb that he is gay. And Anthony fires him. And he's like, get out. And Giuseppe's like, I feel like you're firing me because I'm gay. And Anthony has this one line where he's like, go wear burgundy and do other poet things. Because he kind of spits it back in his face where he's like, you wanted to be a poet. You wanted to leave. So why don't you just go? And Giuseppe's like, maybe I'll find a lawyer and sue you because it feels like you're trying to fire me for being gay. And then Anthony's like, okay, you're on probation. And then he says, this is really a moment that you and I very famously have immigrant parents. And this is a scene I really want to break down for many reasons, because he turns around and in Italian, he says, girl, take a chill pill. And then Anthony's like, what the hell did you say? And he's like, girl, take a chill pill. And the scene ends. And it's like,
who is this?
It's like
for?
I've always experienced this from the opposite end of like, I'm used to like Italian jokes that they have to translate in English. You know what I mean?
And it doesn't
quite work because it's like in English we have phrases like take a chill pill that don't work in other countries because chill pill works because chill and pill rhyme.
Right.
So saying pillola fredda is like, yeah, I guess it rhymes because they both end in A, but it's like, it was so
it's a stretch.
Weird.
It's a stretch.
It's the first time I'm having like an Uno reverse of like, instead of the Italian joke getting butchered by the English subtitle, it's like an English reference being butchered by translating it into Italian and back. You know what I mean?
I don't think idioms and phrases get translated that way. Like you said, it becomes a loan word. You
replace it with a different idiom that gets at the same
in the other language.
Thought?
Right.
Yeah. I also thought about this a lot because one time when I was a teenager, I forget what it was, but like I was pulling a lily and my dad was like freaking out about something. And I said like, Dad, take a chill pill. And the way that he had turned around, like it was later in hindsight, I realized he had never heard that.
Right.
Do that to be a phrase.
Right.
And so when I said that, the way that he turned around, he basically acted as if I had told him to go fuck himself, which as a teenager is like not acceptable. And he like freaked out, was like, go to your room, like all that stuff. And it was, I remember at the time I was laughing because I was like, I don't understand why you're taking this so seriously. And like, you're so upset by chill pill. And like, watching this scene again, I was like, it just made it even more clear how much my dad just had never heard that phrase. And now he says it all the time. The full story is he says it all the time. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyway, that's called intergenerational teaching.
And we love it. We stand.
And we love it and we stand. And then they have another scene where they kind of talk about their issues. And basically we learn that Anthony, he doesn't believe in crossing that line at work in terms of he's like, Giuseppe, if you're gay, that means basically I want to hook up and I don't want to cross that line at work and like basically hook up with a a coworker, which is like, again, Anthony for the win. And then Giuseppe's like, all right, I quit. And
then they make
Anthony
out.
says, I'm fucked. And then he says, well, not yet. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
they make the fuck out.
It's always great when they have a witty one-liner, especially when a person whose English is not their first language has a witty one-liner, because you're like, oh yeah, that took guts, that took skill.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh hell yeah, Giuseppe.
Okay, so then we turn to Miranda. Miranda and Carrie, we see them together first. And Miranda, we learn, has asked the Human Rights Campaign for her internship back.
Yeah, I don't know why she was here or what was going on. This was clearly a reference to something that was in a previous episode, because I'm like, don't know how she
This
got
is going to
here.
be
But it's Human Rights Watch, and I
Emily.
was like, I did have that note where I was like, how the hell did like Miranda suddenly land an internship at Human Rights Watch? How did anybody allow this? Where did she come from? So I think I'm missing something, but based on what you're saying, it sounds like, oh no, this was a thread from before. This didn't just come out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil the thread, but this is a thread from season 1.
Okay.
But basically, she's at the Human Rights Campaign. And as she does say in the scene that that's like what she wanted to do, and that she gave up the law firm life to do, legal work that was going to actually help people. I forgot to note that the title of this episode is 100 years ago. And that comes up in this scene because I forget who says it. Carrie says first, wow, you at the law firm feels like 100 years ago. And then Miranda's like, yeah, you and Aiden feels like 100 years ago. And that's apparently the writers and Michael Patrick King could not come up with an episode name. And so at the last minute, Michael Patrick King just put out 100 years ago, and they all hated it, but they all couldn't come up with another episode title. So it's just 100 years ago.
All right. I'm glad you shared that anecdote, because I feel like that is a great insight into a lot of the decisions that seem to happen with the show.
Literally just sitting here thinking, I'm like, why is the episode title not New Beginnings?
Yeah, which they actually say also, so that's not even out of nowhere.
Because all 3 of them have new beginnings.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point. And
I'm hireable and a scab and a fundamentalist Christian.
So all 3, I'm a dream employee.
Dream employee. So then we see Miranda on her first day at the Human Rights Watch.
Mm-hmm. I was surprised there were 2 actual name drops in this, because as we've talked about, sponsors seem really skittish post Peloton to be involved with the show. But we had an extended plot with Human Rights Watch in this.
It is funny how, of all the things that would support this show, it's like Human Rights Watch.
Which honestly, you know what?
Have you watched this show? Because there have been a lot of human rights violated in this show.
From Lily alone. And then
From
like
Lily
the rest
alone.
from Che.
Also, any discussion about gay people has not gone well.
No, it has not. That's a really great point. And so maybe they should have done some more vetting. Or, alternate theory, maybe it's good that we have them on the case. Because maybe we actually need a bunch of investigative journalists and activists at the Human Rights Watch to have this show on their radar. Someone needs to be holding them accountable. So
someone needs to be checking this show.
Everyone donate to Human Rights Watch.
Everyone donate to Human Rights Watch. So Miranda shows up on her first day of work, and there are the child interns. I mean, it's very clear that these interns are like 26, right?
Yeah.
25 maybe. Definitely college-aged interns. They offer her this garlic chocolate chip cookie.
Ugh.
I don't get what the purpose of this.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't get what they're trying to say with this exchange.
I had a note about this too, to ask you what you thought the deal was, because so much of the other things in this show and interactions are so obvious of this service person's a bitch and we want you to see that by them acting like a bitch, so this, I don't know what this was supposed to be. Was it supposed to be them being friendly? And then so later I don't understand. They give her the cookie, or they offer her the cookie, and then Miranda says, no, thank you, I couldn't. And they're like, no, you'd be doing me a favor. And she goes,
you're right.
Oh, okay, and then takes it. And I don't even understand, is the cookie good? Is it bad? Is this supposed to be friendship? Is this supposed to be hazing? I don't really know what's happening, but
I don't really know what's happening. It's also like a garlic cookie, which sounds gross. I've never heard of that too. Have you?
No, I've never
I don't
heard
even
of
know
it.
that to be a trendy thing. So it's
We're
like,
gonna do
is
a
it made
really
up?
no. I maybe garlic cookie.
Garlic cookie. We find out it's like the number one sold cookie in Manhattan. We're like, fuck.
God damn it, we're behind on the trends.
A lot of what the interns do doesn't make any sense. But anyway, then they are telling Miranda, like, well, you have to do, like, as an intern, we do citations. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you get to be called into a meeting to take notes. And then the boss immediately comes and is like, Miranda, will you come with me to this meeting to take notes? And the interns like roll their eyes and they're like, fuck you, you bitch.
Yeah.
Again, Michael Patrick King hates young people.
Yeah,
And
he really
anytime he
does.
can have young people, they hate on.
Yeah,
Older
they're
women,
just
so-
they're hate on older women. They're rude to people. They're obnoxious. They're horrid. They're horrid. He hates young people. It's just atrocious.
So then the interns are having lunch together. And Miranda, well, they're talking about Miranda, and they're like, yeah, like, can you believe that she got the notes? Like, what privilege?
That doesn't
And I
even
was
make
sitting there.
sense.
It doesn't even make sense because it's like, again, Miranda is a full grown ass adult woman who went to Harvard and had 30 years of a corporate law career. And I
Right.
know that that's what the boss says later on, but it's like, if I was an intern and I saw that, I would have been like, well,
Obviously, because this person is an adult and like experienced.
obvious. Like, I don't understand why automatically people, like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't understand. It's not like Miranda wandered in wearing something lavish and then has like established herself as someone wealthy. You know, there's absolutely the conclusion comes out of nowhere. She's privileged, and perhaps once again, MPK doesn't really know what that means. He just knows that this is a complaint that young people have about old people sometimes.
Yeah. I totally agree that I 100% agree that I don't think he understands the definition of privilege, because it's not like she comes in and flaunts her wealth. Like, you would say, oh, it's privilege if it was like a character who was like a dumb blonde archetype that like comes in and, you know, throws the stapler down, but her husband is Obama. I'm just pulling names out of my ass. And so she gets to be at the Human Rights Watch. I just like, you know what I mean? Instead, it's like, okay, here is Miranda, who is like a woman who had a shit ton of legal experience. You guys are two 12-year-olds. Like, I
Right.
don't understand. Like, it really set up that, yeah, no, Michael Patrick King has never looked up privilege in the dictionary. And if anything, their complaint would be like, it's not fair due to seniority.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
she's so much more senior than us, there's no way for us to like level up.
Right.
That's
It's not fair
real.
that a fellow intern is so much more advanced than us career wise, because now we're never going to get opportunities because this person has
Yes.
like taken up this slot who automatically is so far ahead, and she should be just working here, not an intern. You know, like, again, whether I agree or not is one thing. I'm just trying to find examples that we could have made to make their complaints make sense, but they don't.
They don't. Anyway, so Miranda then comes into the scene and is like, can I sit with you guys? And they're like, And then they pull out their phones and they obviously text about her in front of her because they're like looking at their phones and looking at her and laughing. And I
You know,
will
like they're
say,
12.
like you're 12.
Well, so you and I once did it for survival because something insane was happening in front of us.
What was that?
In Miami.
Oh God, yes, no, yes.
and we needed a
absolutely.
record of what was being said in front of us.
Yes, we did have one insane night in Miami where we met a gentleman who was saying crazy things, and they started getting so many crazy things that we started texting each other back and forth the crazy things, so that we had just had like a log.
Yeah, exactly.
I have done this just never at like a lunch continuous in front of somebody's face.
Yes, exactly. And like it's also just those three. So they're purposefully it's very clear who they're texting, because it's like Miranda will say something, they'll give a one-word answer and then just text each other furiously.
Yeah, but Miranda calls him out on it, and then they stop. But then the boss comes over and gives Miranda big compliments, and then they pick up their phones again. And here too, Miranda like presents them with garlic chocolate chip cookies, I guess, to win their affection, and they don't give a shit. So
I mean, I don't give a shit about the garlic cookies either. I don't even know why they're here.
yeah, fuck you. And then we get to see later Miranda corrects one of the interns because they were like missing some statistics from one of their papers. And they're like, well, aren't you perfect? And then she's like, no, I'm actually a sexually confused, like divorcee, recovering alcoholic. And then they're like, ew, oversharer.
And then they drop kick her, and then Lily jumps through the window and punches her in the face. Boo.
It's just amazing to me how, like, again, it's like we've all been with bratty teens. We've all been in environments where you feel like people are pitted against you before you even start because of your reputation or your track record. But it's just incredible how it's just consistent that it's like, oh, we have a young person in this scene, they're a bitch. Anyone. No one's gonna tell them what to do. They don't like us. It's like putting forward this thesis that's like, young people, they just don't like us. And this is what we have to deal with as parents and as leaders. And it's like, did you ever stop and think, Michael Patrick King and co., about why none of these people like you? Did you ever stop to think it's because you're a dinosaur who insists on Hell's Kitchen being a dumpster? Is it because you insist on things being funny, like garlic cookies and other dumb shit we've had to deal with?
Yeah, Michael Patrick King has been somehow assaulted by a young person, but I kind of am sure that a young person was like valid. Like, I'm sure Michael Patrick King did something, and the person responded by not taking bullshit. The people who respond online to this show are not just giving you bullshit. They're being completely straight with you, okay? They're telling you like it is, and you got upset, and you've decided that all hell has broken loose and all young people are out to get you and have a vendetta.
It's just, our
absurd.
Christian fundamentalist agenda might be clear, but this is even more obvious.
As a Christian fundamentalist and a scab, I take great offense to this. I should not have the moral high ground here.
I should not. And
it needs to stop.
I don't know. Human Rights Watch, watch this.
Yeah.
ACLU, where are you? Get online.
Get online. We need you in the next episode. Human Rights Watch, please write up a report. And I want you, Michael, to get to the root of this darkness in you.
I need you to go to therapy for why young people make you feel so insecure.
Get them.
And then I need every single parent on this show who's writing about from their own experience of their teen kids to call a family meeting and just like level set about where the hell people are at, because
someone needs to check in.
Someone needs to check in, and it's not this television show. That's for damn sure.
I'm so scared for when we're going to meet Aiden's kids.
Oh, well, literally strap in for that.
Oh my God.
Literally strap in. Anyway, so Miranda overshares in trying to be witty, and it is kind of witty, and then they're like, fuck you. Great. Then the boss comes in to chat, and this is where the commercial for Human Rights Watch starts, where she's like, we have a very strict no working after 6 policy, Miranda. You need to really get out of here. And Miranda's like, wow, I've never been to a place that would let me leave before 6 p.m. Like, Human Rights Watch is incredible. And she's like, yes, Human Rights Watch is very much about the ethics, even with our own employees. And then a commercial comes on and a jingle, I think a phone number, a website. Obama then says a message.
Obama's here, and he's like, please be nice to my wife intern. I know she throws staplers, but she's really nice once you get to know her. Give her a cookie.
Best character I've ever written.
It's just this first lady who's just bonkers, throwing staples and
throwing staplers
internships
at Human Rights Watch. But the boss comes in and the boss has been very visibly pregnant this whole time. And the boss is like, I'm definitely going to maternity leave soon. So I'd like you to sub in for me. And Miranda's like, I don't know. Shouldn't one of the dumb 25-year-old interns do it? Makes no sense. And then the woman's like, no, because as we have mentioned here, you are like more experienced by far. You're an actual adult. And why are you trying to make yourself small? And Miranda's like, okay, I'll do it. And that's her plot this episode.
Whoop-de-freaking do.
I mean, I'd take this over Che any day, so I'm happy.
Listen, I genuinely enjoyed it. I'm not, like, I don't enjoy it, like, wow, I'm on the edge of my seat. I mean, like, I didn't cry once out of pain.
Nope, not one time. I put the Advil back into the bottle.
Your time is done.
And I said, not till next time. And that's that. Naya is completely not in this episode.
Once again.
So
it is possible, is what we've established, is that these people don't all have to be in every episode. So
yeah, but why is it always Naya?
Maybe she's filming the morning show?
I hope so. Well, then we get into the big plot, which is Carrie and Aiden. We wake up, the Hallmark music playing on full blast at the beginning of this scene. Like, turned up to 100. They're in bed together at the hotel. They have a very cute fight over the shades where he says, can you draw the shades? And Carrie's like, I did it yesterday. And he's like, well, I did it the day before. And she's like, I did it Monday and Tuesday. And it's just set up that they've been at this hotel for like a while. Mm-hmm. And then they talk about, there's this whole runner through the episode about this chicken that like goes into his son Wyatt's room to like wake him up. And Carrie's like, how does the chicken get in there? And that's
so
that.
The seeds have been planted. I haven't seen the kids. I haven't seen the farmhouse, the chicken, whatever. But he's setting a picture for us of what we're going to see. So that's why I was like, oh, I'm nervous about this because I know we're going to have to meet these kids at some point. And do we meet the chicken?
Well, I'm not going to talk about. Okay, well, in this episode we don't meet anybody, but I'm not going to say anything about that. But yes, we hear about the family and the farm, and Carrie offers to visit them both, and he's like, "Wow, okay." And then she Googles Norfolk, Virginia red brick house and is like looking at all these houses, and she's clearly like buying into this like farm fantasy.
Yeah. She's swept up in the looking at homes and imagining herself and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So then she goes to brunch with Miranda, Charlotte, and Seema, and she gives them the whole exposition about the wife and the kids, and she kind of makes this comparison to Howard's End, which is a book/movie I've never seen, actually. And I was inspired to see it when I watched this the first time, and then I forgot to do that. Oof. But I love Emma Thompson, so we stan. And then it's clear from Seema's facial reaction that Seema's kind of like distraught at Carrie kind of being in love and talking about all this kind of lovey-dovey stuff. And she's the one to kind of bring the hammer down and be like, well, your Howard's End is a fantasy because you're looking at Howard's End in England, bitch. So
yeah,
you're looking at
you look at Norfolk, England.
And they have a good laugh about that. Mm-hmm. Then, like I said, then we get to this scene that was really polarizing for people. So Carrie and Miranda are walking. Miranda's talking about Human Rights Watch internship. Mm-hmm. And then she kind of brings up like, whoa, Carrie, like you're moving really fast. Like this is a lot. Like, are you sure? Carrie goes into this whole thing about how she's been having the best orgasms of her life. It was so funny to listen to the writers' podcast where they were like, we wanted to make it clear that sex gets better for people when you get older. And I was like, yeah, I guess this one line of dialogue really does that for me.
Thanks. That really opened my eyes.
Thank you. I'm changed. So she says she's been having the best orgasms of her life, and she feels like maybe before with Aiden, she was kind of always holding a part back for Mr. Big, and that's why she wasn't able to fully go with him. And then she brings up this big thing, which is, was Big a big mistake? And then the scene kind of ends on that thought experiment.
Yes. I was very intrigued when she said that. I didn't think that's where we're going at all. You know, because again, Aiden sort of popped out of nowhere. So like for her to suddenly drop that, and even though Big hasn't been in the show yet, his shadow has loomed, right? Because this is all about her moving on from his death, right? So for her to say that really caught me by surprise. I think I out loud to the TV said, "Oh," like I just was like very intrigued. And I actually love this little camera thing that happens at the end of the scene that really drew me in, where it's been like a 2 cam, right, with Miranda's reactions, Carrie's reactions, and then the one that's on Miranda like focuses on her reaction. Cynthia Nixon is kind of like taken aback to, and oh, and then the camera sort of backs up and then swerves into place in front of them, and like kind of like moves on its own, and then into like the ending part where it's like the two of them walking. It's sort of hard to explain, but when you're like watching the scene and the camera does that, first of all, the show really doesn't do stuff like that. It's like very, as we've mentioned, slapdash a lot of times. When there's a moment like that, you notice it. And I loved it because it felt very like punctuated on like Miranda's reaction. And it really drew me in to feeling like very shocked at the statement. You know what I mean? I felt the shock. I don't know Big at all, and I felt the shock. I actually kind of loved it, maybe because I'm desperate for Carrie to have something going on. As we talked about, I find her incredibly boring. It got me very interested in her and very interested in the show all of a sudden. But I can tell that it would be a contentious moment because, like, you know, I can understand the implications of it. You know, I understand that Big is, no pun intended, a big deal.
Yeah. When I first saw it, I was like, I had the same reaction too, where I was like, whoa. You know what I mean? I was like, that is wild. Especially, again, because I don't want to say too much. Having the full context of the show, I thought that was really crazy. Because it was like, what? When I was watching this clip, I was like, I don't trust these people to deal with this well. And so I was like, are they just throwing this in for the shock factor? And then when it kind of like ended, I was like, is that it? You can't just drop a bomb like that and move on. And I feel like that's what I understood a lot of the fan reaction to be, is like, LOL, Carrie, like, woman spends whole life sweating over one man. He dies. Now, was he a big mistake? Like, and then people were like, can you imagine being Miranda all those years? She like held Carrie together over Mr. Big. And then Carrie turns to her and was like, was it a mistake? Like, is our friendship a mistake? Like, is
your name even Carrie?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you know,
it
is kind of like funny and mind-blowing at the same time, but I don't think they fully stick the landing on this thought experiment. I'm just gonna leave it on a little bit of a mystery cliffhanger, because I don't want to shade.
Okay.
I will make my opinion of what I think of Aiden from the original series, I should say, clear when we get there.
Okay.
And we will hold on to this when we get there.
Yeah.
But
I'll also say, as a reminder for context of what I know about Aiden, I have seen Sex and the City 2. That's the only Sex and the City property I've seen. Weirdly, right? So I actually know him in the context of that. And I would say I'm not against him per se, but I was a little hesitant to have him here because to me he seemed sleazy, because that's all I know about him. Like, is that he just showed up, had a wife and kids, and then like kissed his ex.
I see, yeah.
But her friends were so excited about him. When she says, like, I texted Aiden the other day, they were all really excited. Like, I thought both he and Mr. Big were of the same ilk, if that's helpful. I kind of had him classified there. Yeah. And based on everyone's reactions, I don't think that was necessarily right.
No, he's very much the antithesis to Big. Not to get into it too much.
Okay.
I will just come in to say that, like, no, like, Aiden is by all means like good. Like, you know, I mean, we can debate that later, but my point is, like, there's always been this debate about who should Carrie be with, because some people really believe it should have been Aiden all along. Like the writers being like, we've read your Carrie and Aiden fan fiction and now we're going to explore that. You know, we'll see how it unwraps, and we'll put everything in perspective as it comes. But that was something that when I watched it the first time, sat kind of weird with me, if that makes sense. That's kind of a fan thing, you know?
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And with the context of this show and the writers and what we know about them, that's going to change how we respond to this. In a better show and a more thoughtful show, maybe the response would have been more trusting, but I can totally see why it's like, oh, this feels like a have our cake and eat it too kind of thing.
I think the overall reaction that I got was people being like, ooh. Okay. The kombucha girl, I feel like, was the reaction. Like the Brittany Rose, like kombucha girl, like, no. It's kind of like the reaction that people had of like, oh, like, you know, kind of that back and forth.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thought experiment.
All right.
Well, then we see Che at the animal shelter. And Carrie drops in to say hi and is like, we should get lunch. And Che is like, I have to work.
Shenanigans.
But Judy's there. And Judy's funny.
There. Yay.
Breathing life into this show.
Once again.
But basically, Carrie, because last episode, Yeah, last episode, Che sets up that they're Airbnb-ing their apartment. That's why they're trying to get rid of Miranda's shit, because they need to clear the apartment for the Airbnbs. So Carrie comes with a proposition, which is that when Aiden's in town, she'll Airbnb the place from Che, and Che can stay in her apartment. And then when Aiden leaves, they can swap.
That's nice and complicated. Also, thank you for recapping it, because I still wasn't completely sure.
Yeah, that was the reason for that. I want more Naya and less Che. I don't know what I have to do to get that.
Yeah, who do we have to bribe?
Which tit do I have to show? You know?
Pick one.
Pick one. So Che says that they are in for that. So we see Aiden and Carrie, they're kissing cousins in the elevator because apparently the management company is very against short-term Airbnbs. And so they have to pretend to be Che's cousins while they stay there so that nobody gives them any guff. And they like immediately beef it. There's this like very clearly hatred-filled neighbor who sees them, and Aiden's like, we're Brad and Janet, and we're like they them's neighbor.
Yeah, just absolute fumble the ball.
Or they them's cousins, whatever. And the neighbor's just like, I'm gonna go to work.
I feel like this scene should have endeared me to Aiden because I do love a himbo. Like nothing charms me more than a hot tall man who like is not quick in a situation. You know what I mean? It's like I should have been charmed by him. And I wasn't, and I don't know why, but I'm going to investigate that further as we keep watching Aiden. But he's not winning.
I think it's not his fault. I think he really sells the shit. He's like giving his Aiden all, in my opinion. I feel like he too has the lights turned on, kind of like Sarah Jessica Parker.
Mm-hmm. He seems happy to be there. Like of all the characters who should be happy to be there, for some reason he's the only one that seems happy to be here.
He seems super happy to be on the show. I think he really is like selling it. I think maybe it's the pretending to be cousins of Che. It's like you could just be friends visiting.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's like I think that's what it is. It's just like I don't know why I'm here.
Yeah, I don't know what this fun gimmick is for because this makes no sense. Okay.
Yeah. So then they go in the apartment. The apartment's empty. There's no plates. There's no pots. There's no pans. There's fucking nothing. And Aiden's like, I can't function without a peppermill. And Carrie's like, I can't function without hangers. So they go and get high on housewares, as they say. And they're just like an absolutely lovable, like, couple at the Sur La Table, Williams Sonoma. I can't tell, but one of those stores. And they're just like,
I think it's a Williams Sonoma, but I don't know why.
So they're
shopping, they're flirting.
They're shopping, they're flirting.
They're playing house. They're kind of in that mode. They're like, we get to decorate our house and get things. Like that's a flirty thing to do is buy kitchenware, you know?
Yeah, Carrie is so giggly. The most giggly I've seen Sarah Jessica Parker be in a long time. Which it was like really interesting. Like jarring, but in a good way. You know what I mean? Like it was like, even on rewatch, I'm like, wow, she's really like giving it her all in these scenes. She's like all over him too.
Yeah.
In a way that I have not seen Sarah Jessica be in a long time. I say all this to say I'm happy. She seems like she's having fun.
Good. I like that. I like that read.
Well, then they bump into the neighbor again, and Aiden says he's Doug Brad. and Jane and Janet, and they bump into the neighbor, and it's clear that things are not going to go well. So we cut to Che in Carrie's apartment, and Che is like trying all of Carrie's skincare, and like all the like under eye patches and stuff like that, which I think is so funny.
Yeah, good moment.
Because that's what I would do if I was in some rich lady's house.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another like great like human relatable moment this episode that we finally got. So then management calls Che about it, and so Che comes over to check in and be like, what's on with you two? And they're totally playing house, and they tell Che about like the Nespresso machine that they bought and the pepper mill and all that stuff. And Che asks about them and why it didn't work out. They're like the 8th person to ask Carrie this question this season.
Can I just say this is where I guffawed?
Oh my God.
This is where I cackled, because it's like, Che just arrived. Carrie and Aiden are sort of giggly. Oh, peppermill, ha ha ha, you can't go. And then kind of out of nowhere, Che just goes, I just see you guys together. Why didn't it work out? And like, that's so 0 to 60, like in a way that kind of, I guess, makes sense because we know Che has like no boundaries, but it's so funny. It's just so not what we were talking about. We were talking about our new like wine cork unscrew thing. It's like, where did you, it's such an intensely personal question. Che also was just introduced to Aiden in this scene, like not 12 seconds ago. Like we're still in the small talk stage, and then to suddenly be like, why did you guys not work before was so funny to me. I laughed, I guffawed, I laughed out loud at the screen, and then I continued to laugh some more when Carrie, the response is for them to look at each other sadly. The Hallmark music comes trickling in, sad piano, and Carrie just says something like, I made a big mistake, and then hugs him, and he hugs her, and they tightly hold each other while the music plays. And I'm like, Che is right there.
I know.
And then the scene ends. It was such a weird interaction in like such a wonderfully funny way. I loved it. It was so weird. So weird.
I think the Che moment's giving me 2 memory callbacks. One is, so anyway, how is your sex life? From The Room.
Oh my God, yes. That is, yes.
It's the same.
Good callback. That is exactly what it is.
It's the same acting beat of like when Tommy Wiseau is like, ah, ha, 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 ha. Anyway, so how is your sex life? It's the same acting beat. And then it's also back to the improv starter class of screenwriting of like, all right, enough, like subtle world built romance relationship lore building to the good stuff.
Yeah, let's cut to the chase. Peppermill, wine cork. Like, let's get to the stuff.
Let's get to this. Like somebody just coming in being like, like you start this again. It's
if you started, here's how the improv scene would go. It was like, I tag you out, we go out here, and then I'm like, oh, thank you so much for picking up all this stuff for dinner. I really appreciate it, Marina. And then there's a third person on stage with us. And then you're like, you're welcome. I'm so excited to cook this like chili, whatever. It's my grandmother's favorite. And then the third person randomly is like, you guys look so great together. Why didn't it work out the first time?
Yeah. That's exactly what I was getting at. Yeah. And you're like, okay. And then you're right. Their reaction to just like borderline cry hug. I think because it's like big for Aiden to hear her say it was a mistake, that she made a big mistake. Like I think that's big for him to hear. So that's why. Intended. But it's just ha 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 ha. But it's just so funny because like Jay's just like, well, I guess I'll go home. Like it's like,
well, I guess
so
fuck me.
Awkward. Fuck me, I guess. Yeah. So then before I get into this next scene between Carrie and Seema, there's another Seema scene that's just kind of randomly plopped in here, which is that we see Seema at work for the first time at her actual office, and we meet her bitchy business partner. I do love that the bitchy business partner enters and his line is like, I don't have long and I'm not talking about my lifespan. I was like, this is the role I want to play on this show.
This is the Kramer of this episode. You want to be the Kramer.
I want to be the Kramer and I want to be this man. And he's dressed so snappy. So then he comes in and he's like, Seema, we have a Marvel movie director who wants a rental apartment. And Seema's like, I don't do rentals. And then the director like comes in and we know he's the director because he's wearing an ascot. And that's what
he's wearing an ascot and glasses. So we know that he's a Hollywood man.
A Hollywood man. And he's on the phone. And directors are also on the phone. So
I thought it was Taika Waititi at first. I'm not gonna lie.
It does kind of look like a weird like Taika Waititi ripoff.
Yeah, that store-bought Taika Waititi.
So the director comes in and he's like, please help me find a house. And they kind of like have some pretty stiff banter between the director and Seema. But I guess, I don't know, it's taking off. And then I like how then the director's like, all right, bye. And he just kind of leaves. And then the boss is like, all right, well, he's your problem now. And Seema's like, I never agreed to this. And then he just goes, girlfriend, he's straight. And leaves. And the scene ends on that.
Yeah, what?
What?
What button was that?
What kind of girlfriend? He's straight. Scene is over.
Okay. Do we want another rewrite? Nope. Do we want another take? Nope, we got it.
Nope. I mean, it's funny, but it's also like, are you trying to imply that she should just take him because he's straight? Like, I don't know. It's just like, just be like, honey, it's Marvel money.
Yeah. Oh my God. Marina, why aren't you writing this show?
Why am I not? Okay, this is where I come out and I peel the curtain and I say, this whole podcast is propaganda because I love Michael Patrick King and I would not tell him to shut the fuck up, unlike every other young person on this show. And I'm just trying to get a writer's job on this show. And that's what this podcast is about. Okay, I'm closing the curtain. I know, Emily, I would be so good at it.
So good at this. Like, I would hire you in a heartbeat.
Good.
MPK.
Yes. You can contact me at 1-800-MARINA.
1-800-Marina. I love it.
Obviously that they're setting up her and the Marvel movie director. Why is this in this episode?
Yeah, it's true. It like didn't fit anywhere else. I don't know.
It should be in the next episode when we like, spoiler alert, they like go and visit apartments together in the next episode.
Oh yeah, we should have just set it up in the next one then.
Why is it not just in the next one? It's like, I was watching this. I was like, this is another, like, again, they pushed the second to last draft to HBO Max and forgot, like, they forgot to, like, take this out and put it in the next episode.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Seema has that little moment, I guess, randomly. But then later, Carrie's getting her hair washed at the hair salon, and then we find that Seema's also getting her hair washed at the hair salon, and she kind of notices that it's Carrie, and so she kind of like tries to sneak away without having Carrie see her. And Carrie's like, Seema, oh my God. And Seema's like, oh my God, Carrie, I didn't see you. And then Carrie's like, you haven't really been responding to my texts. And because Carrie's trying to schedule a big dinner with Aiden to get Aiden to meet all of her like girlfriends. And Seema's like, well, if we're gonna have this conversation, like I need a cigarette. And Carrie's like, what conversation? So they go out. It's actually, I really love such a unique setup to this conversation because they're both in their like wet hair in the rain as Seema's like smoking with like the little towels around their necks and stuff. Let me just say on the onset, I love this scene. And I love the stage picture as well on this scene of the like wet hair. It's such a woman moment that I really liked.
That was a good way to say it. That was
woman that I've never like seen. You know what I mean? Like how many scenes have I ever seen of like two women with wet hair?
I agree with the stage picture. It's nice. And we have so many scenes. We complain all the time about like phone scenes and stuff like that. It's like, let's have more scenes that are somewhere else. And this is such a nice alternative to the phone, to the brunch. It's like, I agree. It's just a lovely little setup and it just looks nice. And it kind of evokes a certain thing. I don't know, made me feel a certain type of way.
Well, because it's so vulnerable. It's so vulnerable to have wet hair like that. So we cut to them outside in the rain, and Seema has her cigarette, and she kind of brings up like that the Hamptons trip that they had planned one episode prior or 2 episodes prior when she proposed to her in the Apple store. And Carrie, like an asshole, is like, "Oh, I forgot."
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you should have like that's an inside thought, but again, Carrie being Carrie, so she's like, "Oh, I totally forgot about the Hamptons." I found it so heartbreaking, and you can see that Seema knows that she forgot about the Hamptons.
Yeah. That's awful.
And so Seema kind of goes on this really great monologue where she's like, you have your two great loves, and I've never had one. And it's not that I don't think I'll have one or that I'm upset for whatever reason, but I don't want to spend money on a Hamptons house to have this feeling of me watching you with your great love the whole time. Like, and Carrie tries to be like, well, he wouldn't be there all the time. And Seema's like, I know, but I just don't want this feeling. So I'm canceling the Hamptons house. And Carrie's like, no, why? When she forgot about it 2 seconds earlier. And then again, it's just like a really nice adult conversation of Seema being like, I just need space from this whole thing. And I will say this is a very Carrie move here, because Carrie's like, no, space makes for more space, and like that's how friends die, and like I'm not trying to lose my friend. So just absolutely like explodes at this poor woman who's trying to like make one boundary.
It was so refreshing, and it really stuck with me, and it also confused me because I was like, what show is this from? It was such a leagues ahead of most of what we've seen so far, if not all of it, right? It's like, it really was really nicely done. We had a human moment. 2 people reacted to it as humans would. I believed the characters. I believed Carrie would respond this way and then feel bad about it. And so she doesn't want this person to set a boundary. And also she wants to go kind of to clear her own conscience. She's sort of like, no, we should do it. But it's like, it's too late. And I loved how Seema handled this. I thought everything she said was like a very vulnerable and difficult thing to say, but also very adult in a way that these characters don't usually behave. This didn't end with Carrie being like, wait, is that a condom in your pocket? Oh my God, you've been feeling sorry for yourself and you've been fucking the Whole Foods guy?
It didn't
Enjoy
end
Hamptons.
with Lily.
Yeah.
It didn't end with Lily being like, oh, you guys are like so gross.
Oh my God, you're ruining my big, what is it? Boys suck day?
Yeah, boys suck day. It didn't end with a server being like, are you two done?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh God, that is, you know what? But it could have, because at some point, one of the hair salon people opens the door and says, hey, Seema. And Seema goes, yeah, I'll be right there. And then the scene continues and wraps up. They wrap up the conversation. But in any other scene, this show would have had the person being like, hey, you fucking idiot.
Get your ass in the chair.
Let's go.
A couple episodes ago, you posed the theory, the question, what is an just like that joke? And we found at least one, which is a service person being like, hello.
Oh God, you're right. You're so right. That's the answer to that question. And just like that joke is a waiter being like, excuse me?
Excuse me?
Like walking away in the middle of someone asking them a question.
Or just them being like, oh.
Exactly.
Well, to wrap up, Carrie's at dinner with Miranda and Charlotte and Aiden, and they're all chatting. It's funny. This is the one restaurant I've actually been to. I don't remember it. The second I saw the interior, I was like, I've eaten there. It's very good. And
wherever it was.
And Aiden lifts the mystery of the chicken, being like, I lift it up into his room. That's how it gets in there. And everyone's like, oh. And I'm like, God. And then
enough.
Lo and behold, Seema shows up. She tells Carrie, thank you for the space.
I mean, I'm a little disappointed that this arc only lasted one episode. I get that we're gearing up for the end of the season. We don't have a lot of time to like have a conflict that's going to sort of boil along, and you know what I mean? Like, I understand that, but it would have been nice to see some consequences of that conversation.
This is something that's interesting for me. It's like Miranda and Che, obviously because they have a relationship. They have this whole drawn out like tension conflict plot. So much time is related to Miranda and a side character having tension. And then with everybody else, it feels like we cannot have interpersonal tension. Like LTW never gets a fight with anyone. Naya never gets in a fight with anyone other than, you know, her ex-husband. Seema and Carrie, like this is the only fight we ever see them have. And to your point, it lasts one episode.
Right.
So it's like, I feel like, you know, there is a lot of criticism about how well or not well, the debate about how they've integrated these new characters. I think part of the reason why sometimes they feel so much like cardboard inserts that have just been dropped in is because there's very little conflict with them. I feel like that's why this scene with Seema pops out so much, because it's like, okay, some conflict. Because in the original show, between the 4 original women, they had many conflicts over many seasons. So you like got this, you know, it brings a sense of dimension to the friendship. Whereas here, like they're particularly Naya, Seema, and LTW are always in supporting positive roles.
Yeah. I really think you've nailed it. I think that has opened my eyes to like why they don't feel real, or they are there. I like this, what you said, like they're there to be positive supporting characters. That is the context we see them in. That's the kind of like weird trope of like they're just there to be like, you go girl, like, and it's a shame. I mean, that we have so many characters, we have plenty of time to have a couple of them have a conflict that lasts more than an episode, or at least if you're going to make it last an episode, let us see it. Let us have the consequences of a conflict. And also, this is such a normal human thing. So I'm bummed, but I'm not going to let that water down my appreciation of the hair scene, the hair salon scene.
Of course. Then we get one of the worst, and just like that's, in my opinion. Because it won't stop. It's like the Lord of the Rings ending where it's just like more, like ending after ending after. I'm like, and
it did not deserve
and
this.
Period. And it just will not stop.
It's like, if you want to break format, fine, but make it worth it.
Literally, and just like that, I went to Aiden's farm. Perfect stopping point. And then it kept going. And just like that, I went to Aiden's farm. It wasn't Howard's End. It was better. It was our new beginning. What the fuck is that? It's so fucking long. Also,
and it does nothing.
All 3 of these are separate and just like that.
Yeah. Oh my God. Exactly. You put the 3 together. It feels like they couldn't
settle on one, so they said, let's put all 3 in.
That's actually what happened. I'm sure it is. It's like they all got into a fight about it.
And you know what? No one forced you to do this dumb episode format anyway, so why?
So it's your own damn fault. They didn't know what to name this episode. They didn't know what to use for the last thing. I mean, just... Wait a second. If you had such a problem over naming this episode, you have 3 names ready to go right there. Like, either New Beginnings, or like The Farmhouse, or... Howard's End. Like, pick one as the name, and then pick one as the and just like that, and then the third one just toss into a line somewhere. What's wrong with these people?
And it's like, you only get so many one of those. You can't be doing this to me all the time.
That's exactly what it is.
Also, they haven't hired us yet, so
we're just gonna keep being bitter about that.
I can't wait for the day that they hire us and then we come on here and we're just like, this episode was great.
Yeah, listeners, you're going to know when we get hired.
Yeah,
because this is going to suddenly turn. Yeah,
we're going to sell the hell out. Well, and that's it. Episode 8. So, Emily, we end as we always do. Your get them and your Release the Kraken. I'll go first this time to be generous since I'm in a first going mood today. Yeah, I think my get them is going to be the garlic chocolate chip cookie.
Oh, that was mine.
It sounds gross. It is gross. And I don't get it.
God, I don't know. There was a lot of good. Let me say, like, I guess my get them besides the cookie and the intern, whatever, was a thing we didn't note. As much as I love being flirty and buying domestic, playing house, playing, very domestic flirty, going to the cookware store, ooh, we need a pepper mill. They bought so much stuff that they already owned that they could have just moved into the apartment. And I did have a note that I didn't mention that was, are they rebuying all their kitchen stuff in this economy? So I guess my get them is to inflation.
Yep. You hear that, Jerome Powell?
He's shaking.
You listening, buddy? He's quaking. 7% on mortgages, my man. Get it together.
That's not going to work for my farmhouse in Norfolk.
It's not going to work, but it is going to work for the $47 garlic peeler, whatever she mentions.
Yeah.
Or like garlic press or whatever it is. Anyway. Release the Kraken this episode.
I think we're going to have the same one.
We are going to have, I think this will be the one time I'll let us have the same one, which is that damn SEMA scene.
Mm-hmm. I think it deserves it. It deserves a double Kraken.
It does deserve a double Kraken. Tori, I want a very loud, like, I want the shark from Jaws 4 screaming.
What do you think a shark screaming sounds like? Can you demonstrate for us?
Okay. There's this scene. Okay, it doesn't scream, it roars. There's this it's like Jaws 4 or something like that. And there's a shark and it roars. And I think it comes out of the ocean, mouth open, and it goes like, oh. Was that good? Should I put this on my voice actor reel? Did you like that?
That's just the sound of a narwhal, coming.
Well, Tori, why don't you drop it in right here? And we'll see who's fucking right.
All right,
and
we will, won't we?
And if I'm close, another Emmy for me. And if I'm not close, I don't know. Lily telling me to go fuck off.
It's really high stakes either way. If I'm not close, Lily will knock my door down and try to smother me with a pillow. And then we'll boo my corpse.
I just really want to make clear to everyone, the viewers at home, we are not making fun of this actress. If anything, I feel bad for this actress because she's 27 and having to do these fucking horrific scenes and lines. And if she's out there and she wants friends, Emily and I are happy to take her out for a drink and just be supportive and just be like, we got you, girl.
Yeah, we will be your supportive, positive friends who you have no conflict with.
Exactly. I have nothing against this poor actress. I feel bad. I send my thoughts and prayers. I hope that Jesus Christ compels her. And we will be here to have plots sometimes, but not always.
That's the best we can do. Sorry. Lily the Gremlin is like my favorite new bit.
Well, this has been real. Emily and I have been reduced to tears. This episode was good. We got 3 more left to season 2.
Oh.
And
all right.
we will see you there. We'll see you there. Bye.